There's a new book out from two Pulitzer Prize finalists from the Wall Street Journal that uncovers what it takes to get those prisoners out of Russian jails. Joining us now are journalists Drew Hinshaw and Joe Parkinson, authors of Swap, A Secret History of the New Cold War. Great to have you here. You're getting rave reviews on the book. You know this stuff intimately well. What are the chances, as President Trump just put it, that 1,000 Ukrainian prisoners, and more importantly, some of these Americans who are detained in Russian prisons, may be released soon, do you think?
Quite a good chance,
really?
I would say. I think quietly thousands of prisoners on both sides of the Ukraine war, Russian prisoners of war and Ukrainian prisoners of war, have actually started to be released. Now, the Ukrainians and the Russians have become mortal enemies. They're fighting this existential conflict, and yet one of the only forums they have for talking is a military intelligence channel where they discuss prisoner swaps, and thousands have already gone back and forth. On the question of the Americans, there are still a number of Americans arrested in Russia. David Barnes is one. The sentences are draconian. Their families say they're clearly political. The Russians have actually been on the record saying they would love to do a 9 for 9. They would love to swap prisoners with the US. If they did that bilaterally, it would be a huge deal. It would be quite historic. Actually getting there and getting that agreement will most likely be some kind of part of a broader agreement in the context of the talks.
But this, listen, we're not talking, this started decades ago in the midst of the Cold War, spy for spy. We had spies in Russia, in the Soviet Union. The Soviets had spies in the United States. And we would, our spies would get caught and we'd say, okay, you free our spy, we'll free yours. This is not what's happening right now. Russia is kidnapping teachers and basketball players and Wall Street Journal journalists, and the people who are imprisoned in the US and in Europe are convicted killers.
Right. That's why we wanted to write our book. We wanted to look at this 20-year history, because this is something Putin did from the very beginning of his presidency.
Kidnap people.
That's right. In his first month as president in the year 2000, he arrested an American, a guy named Edmund Pope. But Putin was a little bit sheepish back then. He didn't feel comfortable in his power. Bill Clinton picked up the phone, called him, basically said, "What are you doing?" And Putin let him go. Fast forward 20 years, this is a totally different Putin we're dealing with. This is a guy who does not think twice about holding Americans to ransom, using them to, using, like you said, teachers. David Barnes, that's he's a dad, an American dad who went to go see his kids, trading those people for spies, murderers, hackers, people of the worst sort. And we wanted to put a spot like that and show people exactly how that game is played.
Why does he want to get these people back so badly? Well, when you talk about Victor Bout or this killer in Germany who, murdered a Chechen separatist in broad daylight in a park. Germany did not want to free him. It was a terrible murder. Why does he want him back?
What you see when you dig into this story is that what Putin wants more than anything else are the deep cover spies. The spies who, in some cases, have spent so many years concealing themselves that their own children don't know their identity. You remember the TV show The Americans?
Yeah.
This is the Americans for real. Putin, as a young KGB officer, wanted to join the Illegals Directorate, and it's unclear whether he was actually turned down from the Directorate, but he's always valorized, he's always romanticized what he sees as this Praetorian Guard. And I think actually we often think of him as a czar inside his system where there's no accountability. He needs to keep these people happy, his security agencies, because that's the institution that runs the country.
So it's a reward. I won't let you rot in prison
back.
after you do my dirty work.
He needs to send the message. But as you say, over the last 20 years, the kind of people that he's been trying to get back and the kind of people he's been taking, it's become far more brazen. It's become a very clear tactic that he's used to take Americans with a higher and higher profile, and other autocrats have followed suit.
It's a fascinating story, especially the incredibly complex negotiations that go into freeing these prisoners, involving not one or two, but sometimes 7 or 8 countries, and the very lives that are hanging in the balance. Congratulations to both of you, Drew and Joe, on the book. It's called Swap. I have it right here. We're going to have you both back because you've done some great reporting, but you also have some interesting insight into Vladimir Putin himself as a man. So we will see you back on the show in the very near future on that.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.